Uh-oh. Drop frames. And we're back. Okay. I found the video I was looking for. I was talking about Mutahar earlier. The way that he speaks about video games here concerns me because he has a big audience, right? 3.78 million subscribers. We just spent, a little bit over an hour watching a tech YouTuber react to, some pretty technical content. He also does a little bit of game dev and stuff like that. Mutahar, as far as I know, doesn't do game dev. He doesn't write his own software. He knows how to apply software. He knows how to do jailbreaks. He knows how to unlock systems. He knows how to upscale video games and shit like that. He knows how to use emulators. He knows how to use Linux. I don't know that he does his own scripting. I don't know that he's a programmer. But the way that he talks about video games here is concerning. Preface, I've seen a little bit of the intro of this video. I didn't watch the whole thing. But he talks about it in a way that suggests that video games have to be only made one certain way and that only certain classes of games actually qualify as games. He doesn't make this very explicit. He's really talking about, in the context of this video, he's really talking about the AAA game industry, which is essentially corporatized, capitalistic game development. Game development where developers are paid salaries every year, where artists, designers, voice actors, musicians, etc., involved in a big production, much in the same way that Hollywood and the TV and film industry operate. I just want it to be really clear going forward that a video game is not limited to just big productions. A video game is not limited to just any one person's definition. Okay? As someone who probably a lot of people look up to as an authority figure, I'm pretty sure he's much younger than myself. I think the way that he speaks about games should be very careful, should be very precise, specific, intentional. And he's just upset that certain games are going to be coming out later as a result of frustrations in the industry, related to AI protections and stuff like that, which is a fair frustration, but there's a lot of just, nuance that has to be navigated in this space. So with that context in mind, let's go ahead and jump in.
Gals, me Mutahar, how y'all doing today? We gotta talk about a video game strike, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you've been following the SAG AFTRA video game strike, basically effective July 26th at 12:01 a.m., I believe.
I have not been following this, so please update me.
Pacific Standard Time. Then you might understand, whoa, Muta, is our video game industry gonna be more delayed than ever? Now,
so, our video game industry? That's just painting such a broad picture. It's like, yo, calm the fuck down. Just like with primeagen, you overreacting for content again. We want to be very precise with what we talk about. We want to be very pinpoint accurate with what exactly is happening. I don't even know anything about this SAG AFTRA. What the fuck? So he hasn't explained anything in the video, just going in, making the assumption that you've already kept up with whatever the fuck is actually happening, and I haven't. So game and development prior to September 23 exempt from SAG AFTRA strike. Video game actors are on strike. Here's what that means. Enough is enough. Hollywood video game actors go on strike. I think this is really specific to just like voice talent and like likenesses and actors in general. I don't think this is specific to video games so much as a consequence of voice actors going on strike, protesting AI, wanting protections and all that stuff.
Now, to give an idea, video games cost a lot of money to make.
False. Demonstrably false. I'm making a game for $0 right now. It's statements like that bother me. That was the first thing that really hit me when I tried watching this to begin with. It's like, let's replay that. Like, let's...
It'll be more delayed than ever. Now, to give an idea, video games cost a lot of money to make.
No, they don't. Certain types of games require a lot of money and finances and resources and stuff to make. Any single human being in 2024 can put together their own video game right now. If you're not happy with the state of the industry, fucking fix it. Stop complaining, stop bitching, stop whining, stop moaning. Learn how to program, learn how to write code. Dig in. It's a fun time. Might even be more fun than actually playing games in many cases. I'm not saying go work for a AAA company. You might have a bad time in that case.
Video games, as they are developed, take a lot of time to be produced.
This is true. No matter what context you're working on. It's not like you could just snap your fingers and a game comes out. It doesn't work like that. Maybe in the future, things can be templated in such a way as to swap out parameters on a large scale and then just be able to just have a function that just shits out a video game, and maybe that's something that's totally doable. I don't think we're very far away from that. But in general, even getting to that point takes a lot of time, right? So you have to appreciate the amount of technological investment. It not only goes into the game itself, but the tooling that is used to build the game. That took time before the game even came out, right? So a lot of people don't consider these things when they're considering development time.
Okay, now Grand Theft Auto 6 is a game that I am obviously, like many people, excited for. And Grand Theft Auto 6 has not come out.
I honestly don't really care about Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, I had a good time with 5. But even then, on my old YouTube channel, I had a video where I caught several bugs in the middle of playing the game. In fact, I've got a couple viral shorts from the re-release of San Andreas, where I'm able to glitch the train through certain barricades and access parts of the game that you're not supposed to access yet, like go to the other islands and shit. And a lot of that to me is indicative of broken development processes where too much emphasis has been put on certain aspects and not enough emphasis put on certain other aspects. And as a result, these bugs appear and they kind of make the game look goofy and feel like a game as opposed to a real immersive experience, which is what they're really trying to do.
About a year or two after Grand Theft Auto 5. No, it has come out basically a decade after.
So, QQ, quit crying, because what do you think us older folk had to deal with when Doom 3 was in development for 10 years? Motherfucker. We had to wait just like you did. And that wasn't even a voice actor screen issue problem or whatever. That wasn't even like a problem of creating something on the scale of Grand Theft Auto. It was a completely different set of priorities with that project. And it was a quality product as a result. Anything worth waiting for will be good. You don't have to rush greatness. You can't rush greatness. You're like, I just want to play the game. I just want to play it. Ah, it's so... But really, it's like... Just like John Carmack said, it's ready when it's ready. You don't want to ship something with bugs. You don't want to ship something early. You don't want to ship something incomplete.
Yes, there are entire presidential cycles, world events, that are now happening between a release of a mainstream video game title.
This should not be surprising, and again, this is not new. 2004. When did Doom 3 come out? August 3rd, 2004. Fucking on the nose. You know why I remember that? Because I built my first computer to play Doom 3. I was in college, a freshman computer science student, and I built my first computer specifically to play Doom 3, and I couldn't even play it on anything past low res because I had a shitty graphics card, and I was lucky to play it at all. So, this entitled, rich, spoiled kid asshole crying about his game, my game's not coming out fast enough. Dude, shut the fuck up. Seriously.
Okay? Now, obviously, it takes a lot of time because developing a video game involves a serious amount of resources, technical chops, and some advancements that are industry-shattering, at least in GTA's case, where it...
What advancements in GTA are industry-shattering? Doom 3, and again, a great example. This was an actually industry-shattering event. You know why? We had this thing called the Carmack reverse. Not the reverse patent. Doom 3 Carmack inverse square root. Yeah, fast and inverse square root. This was initially implemented in Quake 3 Arena. They made use of it in the Shadow engine in Doom 3. This is the code for that function, and it's absolutely insane from a C developer or any developer perspective for that. But like this shit right here, like whoa, this shit right here, whoa. I mean, this one's not as hard to interpret, but it's like, what the fuck is this? They explain how it works in very great detail, but it's absolutely phenomenal what they were able to do with this simple math trick, right? Point being, have some goddamn respect for the past.
It does take a lot of time to come out. Now, obviously, I decided to look through SAG AFTRA and just make sure if Grand Theft Auto 5 or 6 is not delayed any more than it probably already is supposed to be. And according to the SAG AFTRA people, it is not, okay? That does not mean that games from Activision, like the next Call of Duty or anything else, or maybe Assassin's Creed, or really any other AAA stuff that gets thrown out with professional SAG AFTRA actors or personnel, isn't actually, delayed or whatever, okay? Strikes cause delays. That's just a matter of the situation. The point of it is to obviously stop the entire process until demands are met for the workers, okay?
So again, a lot of these release dates and stuff are predicated off of very capitalistic enterprise involving software development. I don't necessarily think that the best games have clear release dates. I don't think that the best games have to be patched constantly in order to be brought up to speed because they released early. That said, when you're a big company and you have shareholders, yeah, you have to have some level of accountability, but something like this does throw a big wrench into the whole process.
Now, regardless of whatever your opinion are on unions, I personally think having somebody that can negotiate better deals and somebody that can negotiate better conditions is ultimately a good. If I have to wait an extra few months or maybe a year for a game to come out if the person who is working on that game isn't actually working like a fucking slave laborer, then I really don't personally mind, okay?
But a lot of these developers and big AAA companies are working their employees as essentially slave laborers. Developers don't really have any union protections. That's a completely separate topic, but it's also tangent in the fact that situations arise where a need for protection is recognized, and without that sort of organizational establishment, you have no way to argue in your benefit. It's a very one-sided conversation when the company or the entity with all of the power is able to just push and shove you around, and you don't have a ability to fight back or advocate for your own interests. A lot of people just say, just get a different job. But if this is something you've been doing your entire life, you need some sort of guarantee. You need some sort of, it's like with farmers, with corn. Like corn farmers are subsidized by the government. Maybe we should subsidize voice actors?
But what is the argument about it today, okay? Well, according to the guys over at SAG AFTRA, this is about artificial intelligence. And I feel like we've talked, basically a lot about AI and shit, but it is, without a doubt, one of the biggest issues right now in media. So according to these guys, basically say AI protections are the sticking point. So effectively, what they've said is any game looking to employ SAG AFTRA talent to perform covered work must sign on the new tiered budget independent interactive media agreement, the interim interactive media agreement, or the interim interactive localization agreements. And these agreements offer critical AI protections for members. So what they said was negotiations actually began all the way back in October 2022 and September 24, 2023. And while SAG-AFTRA members approved a video game strike with a 98.32% yes vote, although agreements have been reached on many issues important to their members, the employers refuse to plainly affirm in clear and enforceable language that they will protect all performers covered by this contract in their AI language. So right over here, what they've said is we're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Enough is enough. When these companies get serious about offering an agreement our members can live and work with, we will be here ready to negotiate. Now, obviously, this doesn't really matter.
18 months of negotiations have shown us that our employees are not interested in fair, reasonable AI protections, but rather flagrant exploitation. We refuse this paradigm. We will not leave our members behind, nor will we wait for sufficient protection any longer. We look forward to collaborating with teams on our interim and independent contracts, which provide AI transparency, consent, and compensation to all performers, and to continue to negotiate in good faith with this bargaining group when they are ready to join us in the world we all deserve, said Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee Chair Sarah Elmaleh.
Matter. So, obviously is going, I wouldn't say so much from paycheck to paycheck, but their salary is, pretty standard. Like you're talking about somebody that's making $60,000, $70,000 a year or something of that nature.
But it's not like strictly, it's not like there's not downtime, right? Like if you're a voice actor and you're working on a project, you're working on that project, but when that project's complete, when it's done, if you aren't engaged in other projects, you need to have another project lined up. So in a very real way, it's almost similar to freelance work in that if you don't have some sort of manager or negotiator who's lining these things up for you, because, at a certain point when you're established, you could probably afford that sort of thing. But like you said, I don't necessarily think you have that if you're only making $60K a year. That's the kind of thing that people start to think about when they see six figures, but I don't know. I'm not a voice actor.
I don't know so much about voice actor salaries.
Neither do I.
I'm just saying a salary where obviously, they're living off of, right? They're not exactly driving the fancy, Bentleys or living in the big mansion or anything of that nature. This is somebody that obviously is just a working Joe. They voice act for a living and they just want to get fair compensation, which obviously is what these organizations are built for. Now, I find this a little bit weird because I do distinctly remember earlier this year coming across this mention from SAG-AFTRA where they were like, apparently SAG-AFTRA and Replica Studios introduced groundbreaking AI voice agreement, okay? So immediately I'm looking at this and I think, what? The new agreement paves the way for professional voiceover artists to safely explore new employment opportunities for their digital voice replicas with industry-leading protections. So immediately when I read this too, I think, did the voice actors even really agree to this stuff? And it seems like they might not have, okay? Because honestly, some of the people in this space were like, they don't remember voting on it. And even if you read this, actual post they made on their social media, they were getting straight up roasted because it really felt like back then they threw their voice actor fucking part of their guild under the bus, okay? So at the end of the day, look, I think for a lot of people who are in the creative space, they absolutely do not want any form of artificial intelligence. And just to show you how fucked this industry is right now, we are one lawsuit away from the entire industry, at least in like artificial intelligence, crashing, right? Like,
I think it would be really interesting if a voice actor were to go out there and start selling their likeness. Because there's a lot of like protection on likeness right now, but nobody ever talks about the opposite, right? Like, what if someone's out there just like giving away their stuff so that like, you know, they can train it on some LLM or some voice model or whatever, and or videos or whatever. It could be even, you know, full-scale video replication. Someone out there be selling their likeness and having some sort of say in the quality, you know, tuning process, being able to go like, okay, well, this is good and this is bad, and we need to make it more like me and less like this robot version of me. And it would be really interesting to see that kind of thing as an emergent phenomenon, right? Like as like a competing or a competing space to the whole you know, voice actor discussion.
Like, if you look at, this is just a taste of cases. You've got Alter versus OpenAI, okay? What started as 3 separate cases brought by 3 different author groups has been consolidated into one action against OpenAI and Microsoft, okay? What they said was they were alleging that Microsoft and OpenAI were liable for copyright infringement arising from the use of plaintiffs' works to train the AI models, right? And then, of course, you've got Anderson versus Stability AI, which are visual artists, filed this class action alleging direct and induced copyright infringement.
This is interesting. When we get into the law aspect and we actually have real cases of copyright infringement being used to train AI models. Midjourney has a Northstar and DeviantArt stream up. Each of the 4 defendant groups have pending motions to dismiss some First Amended complaint. Center for Investigative Reporting versus OpenAI. Center, nonprofit news organization, filed complaint against OpenAI Microsoft alleging defendants directly and indirectly infringed plaintiffs' copyright by using works in their training sets. Concord Music Group, a handful of other ones, Thomas Reuters versus Ross, OpenAI ChatGPT litigations, New York Times versus Microsoft, Zeman and Dubas versus nvidia, LeoV versus Google, Kadri versus Meta, quite a few.
AI's ChatGPT, which basically these AI tools generate verbatim New York Times content, closely summarize it, mimic its expressive style, and falsely attribute outputs to the New York Times. So it's to a point where the AI is so good at mimicking them that sometimes misinformation gets spread that it might be the New York Times stating something when it really isn't. And if you think Microsoft is the only one immune to it, remember, NVIDIA is an artificial intelligence corporation as well. Even Nazemian and Dubas versus NVIDIA Corporation, where 2 groups of authors basically filed related class action complaints against NVIDIA, alleging that NVIDIA copied the authors' copyrighted books without their permission to train its agreements, its actual LLM, and allege that whenever an LLM generates text output in response to a user prompt, it is performing a computation with the goal of imitating the protected expression ingested from the training dataset. Now, I want to preface this all by saying that I'm a huge fan of technology, okay? I love, technology. I love, advancements and whatnot. Person like me should probably be like, artificial intelligence is super cool. We're able to do some really cool things with AI these days. For anybody that doesn't know, NVIDIA, speak of the devil here, created what is known as the RTX Remix, which literally allows you to play older, PC games, but, re-updated through the use of artificial intelligence, right? Where you can have things like path tracing renderers and AI upgraded textures. So games like Need for Speed Underground 2 actually look like they're running on modern rendering engines, all through the power of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and of course the brilliant minds over at NVIDIA. You've got a lot of mods that come out where, basically the modding community has taken famous voice actors and used artificial intelligence to effectively create, full-on single-player DLC expansions. And sure, that is obviously something that I guess it would really matter to the consent of what artist approved to how much of their AI synthetic voice should be used, right? But that's really where we're kind of sitting at. We're at a point where there are entire Grand Theft Auto fan games like Grand Theft Auto Sindako Chronicles, like a PSP full like a update, like a full DLC sized expansion that uses artificial intelligence generated voices. So we're at a point where obviously if you're in this business, a lot of the fan games are using your material. How long is it until big companies like Take-Two, like Activision decide, yeah, we could probably save a lot of money if instead of hiring a voice actor, we just start using synthetic voices? So let's just say, for example, you're playing something.
Animal Crossing has been doing this way longer than AI's been a discussion, right? Like, they use synthetic voices. You may not be able to tell what the fuck they're even saying because they're so sped up, but I'm pretty sure those are synthetic.
Thing like Grand Theft Auto 5, right? There is no shot, in my opinion, that the main characters or the supporting cast, or really anybody that's on camera in that game, is going to be replaced with AI anytime soon. Artificial intelligence doesn't capture the expressive motions and cadences that human voices have, right? However, imagine if you're just walking through the streets of Vice City or Leonida at some point in the future, right? And if if Take-Two was using AI, I would imagine that gaming companies would probably use AI voices on like a passing by NPC. Somebody that you don't listen to, obviously. They're just there in the background. You like subconsciously pick up what they're saying. Obviously, for artificial intelligence, being of slightly lower quality, or just straight up lower quality, wouldn't really matter in that space. Now, would it? Imagine if you're a company like Activision, and instead of paying for a video game worker or somebody to actually generate a 3D asset, which I don't believe SAG AFTRA even covers in this situation. So if you're somebody working in like the creative space, making assets or 3D models, you might end up being replaced by Activision at some point. They might be able to generate gun skins for Call of Duty, where they can generate these skins, and instead of even paying an artist to create that skin, they can just shit these out at a higher volume per season. And obviously, people will buy them. Have you seen the amount of people purchasing skins in a video game online? It is insanity. One of the things that makes me wonder if this is even going to like play in the favor of these union strikers, because at the end of the day, right, like this is just one test footage that you can see from Ubisoft where they're actually showing one of their new chat AI based NPCs. So in this test room, they've got an NPC where you can interact with them, and I'm sure this is using some chatgpt like backend. So as of right now, it would probably work for like an MMO or an internet-connected video game, but I have no doubt that, a company like Ubisoft might try to find a way to get this running in a local model on a PlayStation or an Xbox or locally on your PC, just so you could expand the intricacies and detail of AI NPCs just in a game like Assassin's Creed. Like imagine walking into any town in the game and just talking to any NPC and using it to gain insight or an understanding of what's going on in that city, where your target could be, so on and so forth. I think this could be interesting from a gameplay perspective, but obviously it's going to require the use of artificial intelligence and potentially synthetic voices. So this one innovative gameplay advancement that companies want to kind of push in might probably never make it to the light of day if these kind of unions pass. And look, at the end of the day, look, if whatever your field is against artificial intelligence and whatnot, this is something that these companies ultimately want to bring in. So I don't know, with all of the millions of dollars already spent, are these companies going to dig their heels in the ground and produce these video games, or are they actually going to stifle this and basically keep the entire world open for voiceover artists, right? It's a very touchy situation to be getting into. But yeah, this is just one of the innovations that I'm sure with the amount of money put into it, there's no doubt in my mind that a company like Ubisoft would want to bring this at some point down the road.
It is a tricky problem because on one hand, I am very pro artificial intelligence and very pro the idea of a game developer using artificial intelligence in order to speed up the game's development or to increase the amount of content available in the game. But at the same time, existing voice artists do need protections, not just in the video game space, but also in Hollywood and beyond.
I have no doubt that companies like Rockstar Game or Take-Two or
radio as well. Radio seems like a really obvious use case for there should be a lot more AI conversations between AI right now, right?
or, Activision, for instance, don't want to bring any of these features to video games coming forward, okay? Imagine something like the Nemesis system, with its permutations assisted with generative artificial intelligence, if Warner Brothers ever wanted to get off their ass and provide that feature for another video game and whatnot, considering I believe they're still sitting on the patent. But yeah, this is some interesting stuff, and obviously this is all going to be affected by this video game strike. It's not just delays, it's actual technological innovations, regardless of how you feel in the space.
So yeah, this is just one of the few situations that I've sort of seen come out of this video game strike where, yeah, it exists. Obviously, there are better conditions being sought after, but I think we're at a very pivotal moment where if you're in this industry, you're very much scared of how long of a time you have before some of the biggest players in the game are actually using synthetic voices. Now, do I think legally this is going to stick? Those lawsuits that I showed you, if just one of those goes the wrong way for these AI companies, I really feel that there is a domino effect where it can just blanket the entire industry into actually going into the fucking dark ages. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Like, if you...
I don't think that's true at all. I think, if anything, we are on the apex of a renaissance. Certain parts of the game industry, such as the one that Mutahar is concerned about, might be affected. But I don't think that's going to be as big a problem as people think it's going to be. There might be a lot of people who are upset, certainly. There might be people who are frustrated at first. There might be a lot of people who stop playing video games as a result. But there's also going to be a lot more. Either way, whichever way this goes, I do not think that the industry is threatened one moment, except for the protections of certain workers. And I don't think that we have to worry about getting rid of voice actors entirely, but there is a balance. This goes back to the art-elect war, the war between Terrans, art-elects, and technologists. There's three sides to the discussion: the pro voice actors, the pro AI voice, and the in between. I find myself in the in-between department, in that, just like in the art-elect war, the humans, the Terrans, the Earth dwellers, the anti-technologists, want nothing to do with either the cyborgs or the technologists. Meanwhile, the humans that have come into harmony with the technologies, I think, are going to have the best time. They're going to be the least angry. They're going to have the most purpose. They're going to experience the least fight.
If you're in this space and you are somebody that, your voice is out there, you want to actually be working in this business, there's a good chance that these companies are going to fight you tooth and nail to save a dime, all right? Maybe the only option is AI exists, but you're paid like a per word fee or something if your voice is proven to be used. I don't even know how that's going to be enforced. But what I do know is this is a strike that's going to last a fair bit. And I'm interested to see if, the actual performers win, or if it's going to be one of those situations where the AAA gaming industry is so fucking large and also so bloated that they're going to fight tooth and nail to reduce those budgets, to reduce the cost of developing these games, even at the expense of the paychecks of some of the people that honestly aren't even living large. They're just in this business and basically skating by. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Not bad. Although I'm going to turn off notifications. I'm also going to take a break for lunch, so hang in there. We're going to do some game development later. Thanks for chilling. 2 React videos. It's not bad. We'll trim this up so that we don't have the helping grandma stuff later. Peace, everyone.